The Baracan elite are synonymous with the power and final authority of the hegemon. Unlike the tributaries or the national militia, which are made up of conscripts, patriots, and mercenaries, the Baracan divisions are a dedicated and permanent military formation that answers directly to the summit board and the select few they are assigned to in exclusive, often limited, contracts. Hello, and welcome to Havran.Digital. I'm Seth. This video series is about the Project Morningstar universe lore and IP, split into different parts because there is so much packed into this book. Please check out my previous videos if you're lost and want to catch up or just want to get caught up on some channel info. Please remember, if you like my content, consider leaving a like as it really helps me with the algorithm, and subscribe to see more. If you'd like to support the channel further, please consider checking out the Patreon link in the description down below. Let's get into the video. The quote at the beginning of the video is the very first words on page 210 within the lore index of the Project Morningstar universe, regarding the fearsome and enigmatic Baracan elite. I saw several requests in the comments from previous videos to do various faction breakdowns and thought this was the best place to start. As some of you know, I've been simply going through the book in a linear progression, and I will pick that back up after this video and then do a Shigwe faction breakdown and so on. Because there is so much lore for the Baracan, this specific lore video will have to be broken up into a second part. The Baracan, as previously stated, are the final answer to threats against the authority of the hegemon. They are a hammer to porcelain type solution to any issues that arise to threaten humanity within or without. The Baracan date back nearly 700 years, back when the hegemon was barely getting its legs and was threatened by the Catrathi Reginium. The creation of the Baracan was a direct response to the threat of the Catrathi Empire and ultimately brought its downfall. Many different science fiction universes have tackled the idea of transhumanism, and for those that might not be aware, transhumanism is defined as the philosophical and scientific movement that advocates the use of current and emergent technologies such as genetic engineering, cryonics, AI, and other advanced technologies to augment human capabilities and improve the human condition. So I always find it interesting how a universe tackles this topic. As I've stated before in other lore videos, what I love about science fiction is its ability to pose a question, to make us wonder, or have the potential to make us, even worse, answer these kinds of questions and topics. It speaks a great deal to how authors view the current modern world, as fiction can often be a mirror. And the way the Baracan are created is downright cruel in the kindest of terms. Candidates for the Baracan come from the military branch within the hegemon known as the Directorate. These men and women are often singled out by their commanding officers, who see that they have increased obeisance, physical prowess, and intellect. The part that feels manipulative and at times brazen to me comes from after an officer has identified these potential candidates. As the book reads, commanding officers able to identify these aspects will carefully groom a candidate, pushing them toward a designed psychological collapse. This is achieved by a variety of methods that include committing atrocities or eliminating dependencies. Only then will brokers be contacted who procure, or if need be, capture these individuals and bring them to hidden Baracan processing sites. So, just to reiterate and break it down, we're going to assume these commanding officers are also incentivized to find soldiers who are potentially a candidate for the Baracan elite, and will basically start to groom them in a predatory way, breaking them down psychologically. These brokers are then scouring the hegemon for officers who might have someone in their ranks that they've tenderized, in a manner of speaking. The other part of this equation is that brokers do not get paid unless a candidate in question makes it all the way through becoming a fully fledged Baracan soldier. So, as a broker searching and sifting through all the potential candidates and officers contacting you, telling you I've got the next best Baracan, you're not going to want to waste your time on every single person who does an extra push-up or two. You're looking for exceptional investments that are blowing the standards out of the water, physically, psychologically, and intellectually. Baracan candidates are called Geks, and the exact process is unclear how they actually become a Baracan, or what upgrades to the human body even qualify you to make you into the monsters that are these super soldiers. But it's fairly clear that there are some insane body augmentations on a biological level, and of course, various cybernetic implants. The book expands upon this and reads, "There is a final, complex psychological event that permanently changes the brain activity of the Gek, and is the most important element in becoming Baracan. Baracan relinquish their original names and cultures, adapting secretive customs only they can understand. The identity of these Geks and who they were are completely dismembered and discarded. No trace of their origin and culture remains, only Baracan. They do not keep their old memories and don't even speak the same languages of their origin. They now only know Utar, which is the Baracan's language, and most of the time, only the Baracan taskmasters are the ones who are bilingual, meaning the everyday Baracan soldier can't even communicate with others. They can only do it through the taskmasters. While it's common knowledge and deduction that the Baracan have surgical modifications, battle stems, and gene editing, only the Summit Council knows what truly keeps these horrific examples of transhumanism in check. What keeps them from ripping the hegemon asunder with their clear battle superiority and skill? And I think this passage in the book sums it up excellently, as it reads, "The creation of the Baracan involves introducing deliberate genetic flaws into an otherwise healthy body. These flaws bolster function to impossible levels, even as it erodes the nervous system. The various stimulants in wide use among the Kotar also include a specific cocktail of chemicals that provide what the Baracan body is no longer capable of producing naturally." For clarification, a Kotar or Ko in Utar is basically a standard Baracan soldier. All of the Kotar only speak Baracan, and all of them require medications in order to function. Without the medication, they would go on violent rampages until they died of exhaustion or overheating. The taskmasters, however, like previously stated, can speak other languages and do not require these stimulants in order to survive. They are calculated and measured soldiers capable of executing tactical strategies. I imagine the job of a taskmaster is incredibly stressful as you attempt to herd cats that are basically drugged up psychopaths. Starting on the enhancements of the Baracan is the organs, or as the book puts it, the organoid enhancements. What I find extremely fascinating is the delineation they put to set them aside from humans post-conversion to Baracan. They describe the bone grafting as they give the Baracan almost a primitive look, portraying them in a simian nature. When we look at the Baracan in the suits, they give the air of human proportions, but it seems under the armored suits lies something far beyond that is human, bringing us back to that point of transhumanism. They also describe enhanced musculature and radiological therapies to enhance mutation, I assume to assist in adapting to the bone grafts and the enhanced muscle mass. The book also points out the removal of organs with the replacement of artificial ones. I really love how the book describes these specialized organs, as it reads: regulatory organoids of a unique pattern suffuse the body and allow nerve control and function by special organoids. A Baracan controls these just as one might breathe. While the human body reacts to stimuli, these organoids enable Baracan to select their reaction to encounters and events, simplifying complex or lethally dangerous encounters. It's the difference between knowingly waving your arm and your heart beating. We as humans can make a decision that's willing to stop moving our arm. We cannot do the same with our heart. Using this example, if a Baracan had his heart replaced with a patented artificial organoid, he could control how fast or slow his heart beats, potentially giving him an edge in combat situations. In addition to all the physiological enhancements, they also incorporate gel inserts into the body, making it essentially bullet resistant to small arms fire, and to a certain extent, energy weapons. The effectiveness of the level of resistance isn't described, but based on other works like The Hunt Part 3, it obviously has its limits. Essentially, talon is harvested from the bodies of the Baracan, then distilled and refined to create a plasoi to form a superfluid, as the book describes it, and then inserted into specific regions of the body to form flaps. They insert into areas that are more statistically probable and reasonable for weapons to hit. The book describes the effectiveness of these gel inserts as such. Talon gel can stop a direct bullet or shrapnel impact without armor, and can even disperse energy weapon shots to minimize damage. In my opinion, this is probably the coolest interpretation of why a super soldier in a science fiction setting might have increased response times over a regular human being. I've always felt the explanations were always flimsy, or even worse, just lazy when it came to this, but here I feel like they have made an exceptional explanation. There is a material called myoflex, that is fibers from how it's described wired throughout the body of the Baracan, basically holding it together, which are all connected to the pneumatic actuator, which is attached to the spine and directly to the nerve impulse and the brain. I do love how the more we read into the Baracan, they become less refined super soldier and more Frankenstein monstrosity, which I think is good because again it separates it from being anything close to human. These actuators can even have programmed pre and post cognitive responses, as well as that they can react to specific situations before their brain has even had time to fully process the occurrence. In this section, it also refers to older Baracan who have even faster responses than muscle memory. As it reads in the book, older Baracan report to have faster myoflex responses than muscle memory, resulting in truly awesome reaction timing that borderlines natural precognition. Combined with the cogithood, veteran Baracan can perform with reaction times beyond human limits. It's not dystopian nightmare fuel without the use of tattoos to delineate rank, number, and other random information on one's body. But this goes far beyond just the use of identifying markers. These tattoos, or dattoos, as the book refers to them, are also reactive. And I assume from the context within the book, it means that certain technologies cannot simply work without the correct tattoo correlating to their use. The book uses specific examples of proprietary technology like the stim injectors not working unless they have a tattoo to activate them. While not specifically described, I assume this also applies to the most of the tech that falls under the purview of the Baracan, like tanks, weapons, and other tactical gear. This is just one of the many fail-safes of the hegemon that it uses to prevent Baracan tech from falling into the wrong hands and to keep their existence under wraps. I'm not certain if the book goes into further detail about it, but tattoos are also temporary, as they contain information about contracts, missions, and other data that pertains to specific operation and are usually removed at the end of a contract. This section is just about a helmet, which is fine, but I do feel like it lacks some of the more descriptive meat to justify its section. Anyway, the casque is the word that they use for helmet for the Baracan, and apparently there are hundreds of different helmet variations, which will be nice when it comes to the tabletop game and the miniatures, as you can add endless variety to your models. But the one that is the most popular according to the lore in the book is the 001 Kerberos due to its versatility in the field. In the book it reads, "Each helmet has a plethora of capabilities that range from multispectral vision, reinforced armor plating, narco-inhalant modules, and so on. Most importantly, the 001 was naturally designed around the Khajiit Hood's neurospikes that Kotar need to integrate their provolved neural makeup with their suit." While this section is brief, this does help us to create a picture of why the Baracan are so lethal. Not only are their bodies forcefully evolved, but this forced evolution works in conjunction with things like the Khajiit Hood, the helmet, and the overall suit. The suit becoming a living extension of themselves based on this description. One can assume the mechanical nature of the suit, helmet, and the other pieces of tech isn't reacting to something as so rigid as hand moving, but by the neural impulses of the Baracan itself. Every super soldier has got to have a signature sci-fi melee option. Project Morningstar is no exception, and it is indeed pretty cool. Located in the top wrist part of the Baracan is the Scioto dagger. This dagger, when inserted into exogen or human flesh, has a nasty little extra bit where it then releases compressed gas into the wound, resulting in an absolute mess of damage and mess to the victim. The book describes them being made from new steel. I have no idea what that is. And then improved with a cork alloy. I also have no idea what that is, but they sound super sci-fi and therefore must be impressive. One of the little bits that's also super interesting is that these injectable compressed gas cartridges can be interchangeable. The book reads, "The cartridge can be switched out to include lethal injectables such as toxic gas, liquid acid, or more exotic concoctions like hypergolic gel or pyrophoric gas, which can cause a target to spontaneously ignite." I like how this section implies that being stabbed by a super advanced sci-fi blade and then having compressed gas explode into your wound is the least lethal option. I suppose in comparison to a gel that causes you to light on fire, it is. The Zapor Physicore is what powers the entire auto harness or suit. As described in the book, the first Zapor fission generators powered mid-bulk haulers in the mines of Tobruk as a cheap alternative energy source, eventually deemed too volatile in their radiation output after a fiscal cycle's worth of war caused poisoning for several products. So essentially, the Baracan carry miniature radiation reactors on their back. But it's okay because the Baracan are relatively immune to radiation. But that wasn't always the case for the people who might be working around the Baracan. As the book describes, earlier iterations caused tumors to develop around people who worked within proximity of the Baracan. But eventually, with the introduction of Velenite, this reduced that. This section of the book goes into the auto harness and even a little history behind it. Like all good super soldier science fiction tropes, it comes with its very own supersuit. Going back in time to the creation of the Baracan, the original empowered armor was called the Barakan class of armor. It lacked more of the advanced features that the current iterations, like the Tetsudyne class, have, such as a reactor on its back or a cogitor. But it was twice as powerful in durability and was powered by 8 hyperdense batteries. Paraphrasing the book, it describes the suit to be all but immune to small arms fire in the front, probably requiring some seriously heavy weaponry to deal with them. These early iterations of the Baracan are what dealt the death blow to the Catrathi Empire. Another iteration that came after the Barakan class was the Kovanaz class, and eventually the Tetsudyne class, which I believe is the one that we see in The Hunt Parts 1, 2, and 3. The creation of the auto harness is another well-kept secret within the hegemon. The book describes it as special manufactories are maintained at Baracan facilities, where plans and details are fed into special logicors that fabricate the armor to the specifications of the taskmasters and overseers. These are then prepped by whom it is not known and passed on to the Travan serviles and properly cognitively reformatted indentured, who then insert a docilized Baracan into its armor unit. This one is just cool. It's just really dang cool. The book describes these assault exosuits as being referred to sometimes as heavies or bulks, and are typically used in an escalation capacity, as in that thing over there needs to die extra hard. These bad boys drop from near orbit, which is really high up in case you don't know, and they have thrusters on their legs in order to slow them down, and shock absorbers for the impact. And even cooler is the way the description that the book gives them, which reads, Baracan deployed as such typically drop from near lethal heights in order to cause shock waves when they land, usually directly into combatants or form cover through the resulting crater. So these ultra-heavy harness super soldier suits are not only soldiers, but literal projectiles for the ultimate spearhead assault. Styriok are armed with a high-caliber automat, which I have no idea what that means, but I'm guessing it's some serious firepower and a lot of bullets in the direction of any unfortunate soul who happens to be there. They also wear some sort of shield on their arm to create even more defense for an already impressive suit of armor. We'll kick off 2026 with the second half of this video, which will focus on things like the Taskmaster, different divisions of the Baracan, and Travan, and other things. What was your favorite enhancement for the Baracan? Do you think that this is a unique vision of the super soldier trope within sci-fi? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and remember, go check out Project Morningstar with links in the comments down below. And please, if you like my channel, consider leaving a like, as it really helps me with the algorithm. And if you want to support me further, consider becoming a member of the YouTube channel or a Patreon member with a link in the description down below. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.